G'day guys and welcome back to another Game Day Squad 2025 off-season video. You're on with me, Janath. I'm joined by Roscoe. Today, we're going to go through our top 60, you heard that right, young guns who we think will be good by now because they should only appreciate in value. Before we get into this video, Roscoe, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very good. Look, the football competition for Game Day Squad is keeping me occupied at the moment, which is good. But I'm still itching to get back into AFL. I know we've got another 4 or so months to go, maybe 3 months from now. But, seeing already they've updated the database to reflect the trades, some of the delistings. Soon we'll be getting a new draft class as well, which gives us an extra incentive to get some packs open. And all these new competitions, mate, that they've been announcing, giving us all the more reason to stock up on these cards, as you say.
100%, mate. And speaking of that, I guess we'll just cut right to the chase. The new competition, there's a couple. So we've got a new primetime competition. We've got a new Sunday competition. But with the one that you and I, Roscoe, we're very excited for because we've been pulling a lot of packs. And if you guys have heard the saying, one for the future, we've been... Well, I guess we've been collecting for a while now. It's the under-22s competition. So this new competition, part of the GDS AFL platform next year, means that you can play players anywhere from silver to legend, including prize cards and all-star cards. But here's the catch. You can only play players that are aged 22 or under at the start of the season. So basically, any players that are born in 2004 or later are eligible to play in this season. So in this video, we're not going to go through the big names that are sort of eligible for this competition, like your Harry Sheezels or your Will Ashcrofts. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through some players across all of the lines that may fit this competition and who we think are prime for breakout. And on top of that, we'll go through some other general breakout candidates that don't fit into this competition, but we think are really at the bottom of their value right now. So without further ado, mate, let's crack into this, starting off with the Adelaide Crows. So the big thing with the Crows that we need to mention is they made the jump and now they want to go to that next step. They made the semi-finals, but these are some of the blokes listed on the screen here we think can take them to the next sort of hurdle. And they've been crying out for a big-bodied mid, and I think there's no better place to start than in-house with Daniel Curtin. Age 20, he's going to be a GDS midfielder next year, and he averaged 76. That's what those numbers mean on the screen there. I've sorted these four players here. So Daniel Curtin, Sid Draper, Josh Worrell, Jake Sleeger. Who would you put your most stock into if you had to put him into one player? And sort of give a case for all of them if you can, Roscoe.
I think in terms of the raw upside, I'm going to take Daniel Curtin. It is a bit of a disappointing factor that he's not going to be a forward this year because he was a very sneaky pod pick as a forward for us a couple of times last season. But I think he can average much better than that 76, especially if he starts to get some serious mid-time for the Crows. I think Josh Worrell has probably got the safest sort of reliable floor, I would say. Jake Saligo obviously averaged 8 points higher than him, but playing in that midfield spot can make it a little bit tricky to pick him. And neither of these guys are going to be eligible for the under-22s comp. I think if you were to pick one of them every week, probably Worrell over Saligo is probably my go there. And then we have Sid Draper, who's an interesting one. We know what he could do at junior level. He didn't quite show it this season, but now he gets forward status. Could he play some midfield time and, pop off with a couple of cheeky hundreds? Sort of remains to be seen. I think in terms of ranking these, I'd probably have them Curtin 1, Worrell 2, Saligo 3, Draper 4.
Yeah, I agree with that, mate. The one thing that I sort of put in the favor of Sid Draper a little bit, he's 19, so he'll be eligible for the 22s competition, under 22s competition. And look, he's a forward, 34, is so heavily sub-affected. Like the amount of times he was the sub is probably not even fair to him to have that average there. But I think, like you're mentioning, Joshy Worrell's really safe. He had scores of 106 and 136 in the finals itself. And I guess something we can mention with Saliga as well is now that GDS is going to be introducing the 7th midfielder. So this year and in years gone by, there's only been 6 midfielders here to choose. Now that you have the 7th, you have a bit of scope to sort of take on a bit of a pod like a Saliga. He loves the showdown, that sort of thing. So, but I don't think that that's enough to justify sort of investing in right now. So agreed with you there, mate. Is there anything else you want to touch on about the Crows?
No, look, I think it'll be interesting as well to see how they sort of go, as you say, if they take that step. Obviously, I'm not talking fantasy perspective here, but if that side, I know they finished minor premiers, but if they just go and become unstoppable this season, then some of these guys could become real, genuine stars of the comp, and that's going to reflect on their game day squad scoring as well.
100%, mate. All right. Take us away then with the Brisbane Lions. So as I mentioned before, no Will Ashcroft because he's not really a young gun anymore. He's an out and
We
out
know
star.
what he can
Take
do.
away Roscoe. Yeah.
Yeah, look, the Brisbane Lions, back-to-back premiers. These guys are stars, I think, and these guys are going to all possibly crack the 100 average this season, in my opinion. The biggest one I have is Jasper Fletcher, going from midfield to defence. He ideally looks to take some of that Dane Zorko role. We've been going on about it for ages. Average 98 playing as a midfielder, which made it a bit tough to pick him. But now, if he starts to take over the Zorko role and the scoring, he almost becomes unlocked to be picked in that under-22s comp every single week. Then, Janath, we have Darcy Wilmot, who misses out on the 22s competition by a singular day, born on the 31st of December, 2003. So while we don't get the Pepsi Max King in the 22s comp, he could still be a good option for us in other comps as well. Then we have Levi Ashcroft, who averaged 89 in his first season at AFL level. Should only get better and plays midfield, probably more of a pod option with the 7 midfielders. What do you reckon?
Yeah, look, I love everything you just talked about there. I think Brisbane is the team that you got these three. You got even a type like a Sammy Marshall as well, who's going to be on the come up next year. They just keep blooding these young blokes, and they're all brilliant. Like these three, Wilmot's been in the system for 4 years now. Like that's pretty incredible to think about, and he's only going to get better. I think Fletcher and Ashcroft are locks into the under 22s competition. Like when I was doing a bit of research, there was only 3 players that averaged above 100 or above in off the players that are under 22 next year. That was Will Ashcroft at 111, She's a 126, and Archie Roberts at 100, who we'll talk about a bit later. But then you had Fletcher just on the out at 98, and Levi Ashcroft at 89 is pretty close to being one of those highest averaging midfielders. So by my calculation, he was the second highest averaging midfielder for next year that's eligible for the under 22s comp. So he's the perfect player to invest in if you want to really target that competition.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I think Brisbane, we know what they can do. Now, I think I'll roll it over to you, mate, for your beloved Blue Baggers. A couple of surprise packets who I think could genuinely just break out a little bit and become sneaky value options for us.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start off with the two in the one on the middle, Cooper Lloyd, who's probably been the most locked into the side. He's only 20, but he plays a lot older than he is actually. He averaged 69, and he was a forward this year, so it would have made him a lot easier to pick, for instance, in the under 22 side next year. But I still think that there is a lot of sort of upside with him. Now, the impact may come with Jagger Smith's inclusion into the side. Picking him at number 3 last year, unfortunately did his ACL in the preseason game against you guys. He's going to come in and be an instant impact player. And what I mean by that is we've seen how sort of the blokes like Nick Dacos and Harry Sheasel have been genuine fantasy stars from the day they play their first game. Now, I'm not saying that Smith will go to that level straight away, but he was arguably the best ball winner in last year's draft. And I think that should translate pretty closely to AFL level as well. And on the left there, we got Ashton Moyer, who's more of an impact sort of play in terms of that X factor, not really a fantasy type. But we may not be blessed with too many forward options for our under 22 side. And I think that a player like Moyer, who really settled into our side at the end of last season, locked himself in, and once again, one of these players that has plenty of upside, he should be a lock and load into the Carlton Best 23 and hopefully can really take his fantasy game to the next level next year. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, look, I like it in terms of Ashton Moyer. There's not too many forwards that we have in our list. And a lot of them are actually sort of key forward types as well, where, their scoring's probably even lower of a floor sometimes if they don't bob up and kick a few goals compared to Ashton Moyer. So, he's definitely one in there. Do you worry a little bit about Cooper Lord possibly tagging again? I know he did it a little bit in 2025.
Yeah, I think, well, from memory, it was the Sack Butters game that he tagged him late in the season. But apart from that, really, with Lord, I think he's more of that player that's similar to a Marcus Windhagen the end of last season. So not the player
Yeah.
renowned for his tagging, but in and around the ball, can get his own pill. He doesn't necessarily need a tag to get the ball. So I don't think that's too much of a worry. But my concern would be what the midfield mix looks like next year when you've already got
Yeah.
Chris, Chera, Hewitt. You're going to add Smith into that mix. We were running a lot of these pseudo half forwards through there, like Jesse Motlop, Corey Dirt, and those types. But I would love to see Cooper Lord really settle into that CBA rotation next year.
Yeah, 100%. That'd be good.
One play that we didn't mention here is Ollie Hollins, who averaged 90 off of halfback, but now with Nick Newman back, we're going to bring in Harry Dean's going to come back into that mold. Ollie Florent has come into the club really as a halfback distributor. I think that Hollins will go back onto the wing along with Campbell Chester. So that's the only reason where I'm a bit low on Ollie Hollins now than I would have been last year if we had this competition. But yeah, that's the Blues summarized there, mate. Next, we're going to go to a club which hasn't really blooded much young talent at all. And I don't think there are too many, if any, relevant under 22 players. And Ned Long won't be eligible because he's 22 now, but won't be at the start of next season. Do you just want to chat quickly on Ned Long there for me?
He's a very hard card to get, so hopefully they put him in the starter pack bundle this year, so we can get a bit easier access to him. I don't have a bronze of him at the moment. I'm looking for one, but there's none on the market as well, so that makes it a bit tricky to get him. He should sort of play Collingwood's midfield, I think. They've got an aging side, and I think the more they sort of blood him and keep them in there, the better it'll be for them in the long run. Obviously we've got Pendlebury, we've got Sidebottom. Tom Mitchell's retired.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, so, there is midfield minutes there for him, and, he needs to just step up and take his opportunity. 86.8 is not a bad average. It's pretty solid, but he'd probably need to go a step better than that again to really cement himself in our sides. And being ineligible for the under-22s comp does make it a bit harder to pick him, especially considering we're probably looking at Challenger, Classic. Maybe pretty sure Colin would have got a fairly friendly primetime fixture, so he could be one that gets picked up in one of those games. So, good option, but probably not the best.
Yeah, better ones out there, you would say.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so.
Well, I'll leave it with you then, because a bit stiff to only talk about one play. Let's talk about Essendon, because this club, I reckon, one of the things which I should have prefaced at the start of this video is we're not talking about any of the new draftees, just we don't have enough information on them. We don't know how their game will translate to the AFL level. But what we will be doing in the preseason is going through who we think will be the most relevant rookies ahead of the season once we get a little bit more preseason data, that sort of thing. But here we go. When we talk about Essendon, I think these are sort of the four players that impressed me the most. And the one, obviously, that impressed a lot of us is Archie Roberts. Only 20 and he's already averaging 100. Do you want to talk about Roberts and some of these other blokes, Roscoe?
Yeah, Archie Roberts is an absolute seagull. Loves playing loose off halfback. Kick-ins, 1-2s, like it's the absolute dream role that we've known and grown to love for like Luke Bryan, Dane Zorko across the years. Like he had some big scores to end the season. So as a defender again, Nick Martin, all the best to him, just re-injured his knee, so won't be playing this season. And I think that's just going to open the door for Roberts to just become the number one guy down there. I don't think they want it being McGrath. I don't think they want it being Redmond. So I think that's Archie Roberts' spot to lose. Although, in saying that, there's a couple of understudies here in Angus Clark and Zach Johnson who've shown some tidy form. I'm not sure how well they're going to be able to boost their averages, but being 19 and 18 could definitely fit in there in the 22 squad. And then we have Kako, who is the excitement machine. We know what he's capable of. He has kicked 3 goals in a couple of his matches, only averaged 53, but when we need forwards, he's probably going to be one who's locked in to play for Essendon every week. and probably ends up playing in our forward lines in the 22s comp as well.
Yeah. And the thing that excited me most about Kako is that near the end of the season, when McGrath went into the midfield, so did Kako. It was like they just wanted him around the ball a little bit more. If Essendon continued to do that, then who knows what can happen with him. And the thing that you mentioned with Roberts as well, mate, with Ridley injured again, he's just perennially injured. It feels like his backline for the taking. And if that's the case, then I don't think that Roberts is only relevant from an under 22s perspective. I think he becomes relevant as a genuine top 7 defender. Like that's the sort of scope that a play like Roberts can have. He finished the season with scores of 127, 115, and 103. But throughout the season, he was, let's say the consistency was a little bit of an issue, scoring 70s here and there, but he had the ceiling of a 141. This is all with his base card as well. So hopefully he can take the next leap forward.
Absolutely. No, I think we're both pretty bullish on him.
We are. All right. I'll chat about the Fremantle Dockers here now. So the big one, when we talk about these, you got Murphy Reid, Neil Erasmus, Josh Tracy, and Matty J. Unfortunately, with Neil Erasmus and Matt Johnson, they're not going to be eligible for the under-22s competition because they were born in 2003. But Murphy Reid, he's the one as a forward that can really take the next leap. Now, talking to some Freo fans, the big issue with Reid, I would say from a GDS perspective, is that he's very much impact per possession, but not a lot of possessions. And so if he doesn't necessarily rack up the pill, this isn't like Supercoach where you get 8 points per possession, 8 points per possession. You need to sort of be consistent, and that's where you might become undone. But when we're thinking about other forward options, there's not too many out there. And I think that Reid will quite comfortably settle into that. And then you've got Josh Tracy, who I just think is a wild card, like we saw with Riley Thilthorpe last year, Sam Darcy. These key forwards in GameDay squad, if they can get more possessions, we already know Trace can clunk big marks and kick goals. Can he really elevate himself to that 95 to 100 GDS average? I think he personally can, but we need to see that more consistently from him. Do you think Tracy Roscoe has the ability to become like a Thilthorpe Darcy type?
Well, I mean, he's kicked 45 and 44 goals across the last 2 seasons. And I think in theory, Fremantle should get better again. So I don't see why he can't. I mean, we obviously might not be able to pick him in other formats, week to week. But in this 22s, like I think against any good matchup, against any bottom 6 side, I think we have to put him in, He kicks 4 or 5 goals, gets his 10 to 12 touches, few marks. He scores 100, Like, it's just someone you want to have in there. And I think, actually, no, wait, we can't. He's 23.
No, you can't have Tracy in, but he could become relevant as the season goes on in some of the other competitions. So especially the Sunday competition where Freo may have some games. I think, Roscoe, not too many, but they do have some games, I'm pretty sure, in the 4:40 slot on the Sunday.
The old West Australian special.
That might be of relevance there. All right, I think Freo is not too relevant apart from Murphy Reid, especially for the under-22s, but keep an eye on Neil Erasmus and Matty Johnson as they sort of become embossed into that Fremantle midfield there. Let's go and talk about Geelong. Not too much relevance again. Roscoe, what do you see out of Connor O'Sullivan, who's eligible for the under-22s comp, but not Lawson Humphreys? What do you see out of these two as potential rising stars from a GDS perspective?
Well, I think Lawson Humphreys has obviously got the better role, although outside of Tom Stewart in recent years, I don't think anyone from Geelong has really played exceptionally loose. I know Zach Guthrie can get a bit of the ball. Jed Buse even bobbed up and had his game where he racked up plenty of the ball, and a couple of people got sucked into bringing him in Supercoach. But no, I think the consistency leaves a little bit to be desired with Lawson Humphreys. We know he has a ceiling. His floor's not too bad, but is he going to be top 7 defender worthy when we've got, others that can, play defensively? Like we get, the likes of Archie Roberts, even 2 years younger and already averaging 100. Like these are the guys that, have the ceiling and can sort of probably trust the consistency a little bit more. In terms of O'Sullivan, I think he can actually get up to a similar average to Humphries this year. I'm really big on him. I think he's going to be a great player. And, I don't know how well it's going to translate to fantasy, but just the way he's flying at marks and, that sort of thing, if he learns how to play like Tom Stewart, then look out. The league's in a bit of trouble.
And that's exactly it, mate. So I would have said this time last year, we would have been talking about a player like Max Holmes in this exact category. And we can see just how much he sort of blew up. He sort of got an all-star card. Like, let's put this here. We haven't gone through all the players, but I reckon 2 or 3 of these blokes that we're talking about right now will have all-stars come the end of next season.
Yeah, I think that's pretty possible.
There are going to be some breakout candidates off this mix, and let's see who it can be.
Yeah.
Let's go on to Gold Coast then. And so, not too much relevance again, I would say. Will Graham is going to be a forward, and that took me a bit of a surprise because I would have said that he played majority midfield when he was healthy last year. I remember that he did his shoulder going for very courageous contact collision up in Darwin. 65 average, if he can sort of really get locked into that Gold Coast midfield, now that they've lost a lot of depth in terms of your Flanders, Ainsworth, Butterick, you lose a lot of these players off the periphery. Can Graham become a locked-in best 23 player? And if so, he could be an answer for our under 22's forward line, 100%. And Bailey Humphrey, average 80. He's probably one of these players that, from my calculations, he had the 3rd highest average for forward next year in the under 22. So if you're looking at an under 22's comp, he's one player that you probably want to have in as a forward there.
Definitely. And it might be a bit blasé to say it, but Bailey Humphrey could be playing to trade his way out of the Suns. So, he might have a career year and, just force a move. Or he could go the other way and, he still wants to get back to Victoria and he just checks out. But on 2025 form, he's one we have to pick in the forward line. And he's one that I have my eye on for our special shopping segment later on for sure.
Love to hear that. Well, the thing that it's going to be quite interesting to see actually is how the addition of Christian Petrarca affects him. Like, does that mean that Humphrey becomes a permanent forward? Does that mean that they complement each other, play 70-30 split, and then in terms of midfield forward, if that's the case, who gets the 70-30 split? Is it Petrarca play more midfield? Humphrey play more midfield? It's quite interesting when you got two very similar players like that. And then I guess we'll just touch very quickly on Alex Davies. I think Alex Davies is quite an interesting player as well. Like, he feels a bit of a misfit in that Gold Coast midfield when you've already got Anderson, Rowell, Touk, even Will Graham. But he really came on strong near the end of last season. Once again, if he can lock himself into the best 23, he's not eligible for under 22s, but he could become a breakout candidate equally. I just think that there's too many players in front of him to be really relevant, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's others that are going to be rolling with his midfield time.
Yep. All right, let's move on then to the other expansion franchise. It's been a long time ago now, but we got a couple of players who are all eligible for the under 22s comp. Take us through the GWS Giants, Roscoe.
Well, we have Darcy Jones, who I would say normally would be a pretty astute pick for our forward lines, but I believe he's going to be injured for at least the first half of the season with his ACL, which is a shame for him, really. Actually, possibly even the whole year. I'm pretty sure he did it in their elimination final or round 24.
Yeah, it was quite late in the season.
Yeah, so he's one to watch when he returns. Then we have Harry Ralston, who sort of established himself in the side a little bit to end the season. A midfield only makes it tricky. The 62 average is probably not reflective of what I think he can do. I think the main thing with Ralston is they need to work out whether they want him to be a midfielder. They played him in the forward line a little bit. I remember he had a game where I think he kicked 4. I think he has to cement himself somewhere before we can consider him a proper prospect. And then we've got Joe Fontainpelli, as Dwayne Russell calls him. Playing as a defender, he's the kind of dashing rebound type that we want. The 57 average is not amazing, And he is obviously competing with Whitfield and Ash for the kick-ins. So perhaps one to watch after Whitfield goes, although he could still be an okay pod selection in games where I think they have a strong matchup.
Yeah, agreed with you there. Like, Rouston should cement himself into that GWS midfield, but with Clayton Oliver coming in and no one really going out, apart from, you might say, Callan Ward retiring, it might be a bit more difficult. You'd still hope that Rouston can cement himself in that mix of uh, Callahan, Green, Oliver, Rouston, no Josh Kelly for the majority of the season as well, and Cogs is getting on. You would think that he does become that fourth banana in there.
Yeah, I think so. He just has to do it.
He just has to do it. That's it. We're halfway there. These next two clubs, when I was going through and putting these slides together, we got 5 each. So the Hawks, we got 5 blokes which we need to talk about. Josh Ward and Jack Ginnivan are ineligible for the under-22s comp, but Josh Ward really took a step forward this year. I remember when he was coming out of his draft year in the season preview for that season, I was saying that he was going to win the Rising Star. It probably took a couple of extra years for him to come on. He was a bit on the out in 2024, but really solidified himself ahead of Cam McKenzie last year. Now with with James Warple, leaving the club, this opens up space not only for Josh Ward, but also for Cam McKenzie to lock themselves into that Hawks midfield as well. They're crying out for more midfield depth. I think that Josh Ward, if he can get his 87 up to a 100, possibly even more, what's to say that he's not that breakout candidate that becomes a game day squad all-star at the end of next year? Like, this is something that could realistically happen, I think, with Josh Ward. But when we're thinking about the under-22 players, you got Cam McKenzie as a midfielder, you got Josh Weddle, who's one of the higher averaging defenders that is still under the age of 22. And then you've got Cal Shadir there, who's a bit of a cheeky one. With Jack Gunston really breaking out, let's say, last year, Dia had to take a bit of a step back. But now, do they bring him in and make him sort of more of a focal point, Roscoe?
Well, they keep going on about the Hawthorn 4. Is it what? Gunston, Dia, Chol, and Lewis. Yeah. Surely they have to start persisting with Kalshadir over Chol and Lewis. I think so. And they should be strong again this year. And I expect if he plays, he can bob up and score 80s and 90s in games. So I think he'll be handy enough for certain matchups. Disappointing that Ginnivan's not going to be in it, because Ginnivan started to play midfield, bit of wing even, started to really accumulate. So, he's one that I'll be watching for as a forward in other comps, obviously, not just the 22s.
For sure. And that's the reason we got him in there. 89 average. He's not that far off the highest average in forwards. And if he takes the next leap forward, he could be that midfielder. Like, that could be the next evolution of Jack Ginnivan. So just something to watch out for. Overall, I think that these 5 should all play next year. But with Sam Mitchell, I think the policy is if you have a bad game, you're out, which happens to a lot of his rookies like Henry Hustwaite, Shane Mitchell, those types of blokes. So tread with caution. Josh Weddle might be playing for $1 million contract as well. So I reckon that's one that we should keep front of mind. Let's talk 100%. About the Demons, who, along with the Lions, I think this core 5 players is the most exciting of the clubs that we're going to talk about. I reckon you blokes at the Saints have a pretty exciting list, but this core 5 is very exciting. Talk us through it, Roscoe.
Yeah, look, some very astute drafting by the Ds. I think Langford and Lindsay is going to be a very, very good class. Now, they've gone again this year with, Xavier Taylor and Latrell Pickett. They'll be hoping that those two can really come on. But yeah, I think the one that I'm really, really big on, actually looking at Rivers as a defender, he's exciting me as well, because I think he'll play the midfield spot that Petrarca and Oliver have sort of given up. But I think Bowie will sort of really benefit in defence from having no McVee. So, Salem's getting on a bit in age. I think Bowie
Stephen May
averaging 103.9.
Yeah, well,
Stephen May's not there either.
Yeah.
So he can push 110, 115, and I don't know where that puts him in terms of overall defenders on 2025 averages, but I think it's close enough to like top 10, Has to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if he, what are you saying? What can you realistically
115?
see about? If he gets up to 115, he's going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th defender.
Yeah.
And that's that's basically an all-star card.
Yeah. So I think he's one that we need to be looking very heavily into. Caleb Windsor's interesting. He's probably the one that slipped under the radar a little bit. He started off really hot, and then he's sort of gone back to half back, and I don't know, had a bit of a difficult 2025 season. But I think with a good preseason, playing as a defender, he's one to watch, and it could be possible here that we line up with 3D's defenders in the back line in some strong games. But Rivers is a midfielder. Bowie is your halfback, and then Windsor is just your pod player.
Yeah. Right now, I would say that if I was planning a under 22s team for next year, I think Windsor, Langford, and Lindsay are all in there. Like they're going to get the run. They're pretty good scorers. And like this is just the base, but 61, 74, and 63 for Lindsay, Langford, and Windsor, respectively. That should only improve with another preseason. So really excited to see what the D's can do. But Roscoe, with like a Jake Bowie type, he could really take his game to the next level. And that's the most exciting part is the 104 sort of crept up on me. I didn't think that he averaged that high because he's not really the most flashy player by any means, like your Naz type, but he could take that Naz-like step and go up a gear next year.
Yeah.
We saw that Naz can coexist with Jack Sinclair. What's to say that Bowie can't coexist with not just Christian Salem, but even a Caleb Windsor next year? And Rivers.
Yeah, well, he's done it. He's done it this season
Yep.
already. So in theory, with May going out, both Bowie and Salem could probably see a slight boost.
Yeah, exactly. When we're talking about May going out, we don't mean he's still at the club, but I think he's on the outer for Stephen King. That's the way that I think we want to frame that. I don't think Stephen May is going to play many games next year. Let's put it that way. North Melbourne.
Did he get a contract?
I think he did. They were looking to trade him. He's not a free agent.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about North Melbourne. So North have so many youngsters that we could have fit so many players on this list, but I just don't see the fantasy relevance for many of them. So with the ones I'm talking about, like Saint Dersma, or the Cooper Trembath, like those sort of blokes. Colby McKercher is, if not the most, arguably the most exciting player off the 60 that we're mentioning in terms of his upside. He is a player that you want to lock into your under 22 squad in defense because, yes, we got Fletcher and Roberts who averaged more than him last year, but Colby McKercher was not playing as a halfback seagull for most of last year. So his average is pretty much skewed from what it should actually be. Is there much more you want to add to Colby?
No, I think everyone started to pick him and Sheasel and just locked him into their back lines late on in season 2025. And being 20, he'll be one of the first defenders picked.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. We also have Finn O'Sullivan and George Wardlaw who'll be eligible for the under 22 squad. The issue with Wardlaw, I guess it's a good thing for GDS, the fact that you know when he's injured, as in you won't pick him. Whereas in some other competitions, you sort of just have to ride the wave with him. He averaged 80. He reminds me a lot of Clayton Oliver in the way that he came up. But Clayton Oliver had his breakout in his second season. Wardlaw now, I think he's going to go into his fourth season now. Can he take that evolution and become an 105 average in GDS midfielder? Is that reasonable or is that too much to expect from a 21-year-old?
Well, I think on talent, he can do it. But I think the question for me is how much the concussions, the niggles have sort of affected his body and his confidence. Because you saw he was coming in and playing, his first 3 games and he's just smashing people. Like he was just running in and getting hit in the head. Now, after a few head knocks, a few injuries, does he start to pull back on that a little bit, shy away from the contest? I really hope we don't because at his best, I think he's one of those bruising kind of midfielders. And I hope he can make it. But I'm a bit less sort of confident than I was at the start of last season.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point that you raised there, mate, in terms of your confidence with him has gone down, but the talent hasn't. We know the talent hasn't.
Yeah.
And let's just hope that he can get a really healthy run at it because he's one of the most exciting players to watch, even if he's not going to be in your GDS team week in, week out. Finn O'Sullivan, a really interesting one here in terms of He's never been a big ball winner, even in juniors. But we did see that he was given a little bit of license of halfback last year. If he goes to halfback, he's eligible for the under-22s. He's listed as a defender. He could be one of these players that just flies under the radar a little bit and then he pops up. And then finally, we got Paul Curtis, who isn't eligible, unfortunately. Averaged 85. And I think that if there was a breakout play in an AFL sense last year, Paul Curtis was one of them. Like, he really could have pushed for All-Australian if it wasn't for the suspension mid-season. And if he's performing this well in the 17th place side, let's say, how will it look when North does start to win a couple more games? He goes through the midfield a little bit more. I can see him pushing his average up to 100. Like, that's not unrealistic in my opinion.
Yeah, think, and as a forward, that makes him a very tasty selection. I know he's not eligible for the 22s, but we're a bit limited on forwards. You know, there's only a few that I think I can safely say I want to have in there every week.
Yeah.
So I think he's a good selection.
Yeah. All right, mate. Let's head on over then to Port Adelaide, who, unlike some other clubs, are not too relevant, surprisingly. I would have thought they're going through their list. They've gone through that rebuild. They still got some young players, but I feel like their young players are really broken out in terms of Rosie, Butters, Horne-Francis, and then there's not much else. Let's just say, Jace Burgoyne. He's the one, isn't he? Like, if you're looking at a Port youngster,
he is.
Take us through why. Take us through why what you see in Burgoyne.
Playing the wing, you know, he's shown that he can win a lot of the ball. He runs all day. He's a pretty decent ball user as well. So I think he's one that probably is cemented in Port's side. And an 86.4 average is decent. He'll need to crank it up a little bit if we want to pick him most weeks as a defender. I don't know how Port will go this season. I'm sort of torn. I think they might be bottom 4, which does make it a little bit tricky. But, you know, I think he's still one, you know, like even if he's bottom 4, we still obviously expect Rosie, Butters, Horne-Francis to score well. And if he takes that step, I don't see why he can't be a sort of fixture proof, even if they're losing and still score well. Now, Logan Evans is a very interesting one because I feel like his first season was a lot better than last year. He had some big games playing at halfback, and then this year he sort of fell out of the side. I don't really know what happened. Like, I don't think he was injured. I think he just fell out of favour. But then he sort of worked his way back in towards the end. And I don't know. If he gets a spot, we know he can rack the ball up, but a 59 average doesn't make you want to pick him. But then before that, I'm not sure what his 2024 average would have been, but it would have been better than 59, I think.
Yeah, like, I think with regards to Logan Evans, he was on the outer, which was surprising, wouldn't you say? Like, in terms of a player that had shown a fair bit, Logan Evans, you're not wrong, averaged 83.1 in 2024 in his first year. That's pretty impressive. And that should be the benchmark for him, shouldn't it?
Yeah. And look, even this year in round 2, he had 24 disposals, 11 marks and a goal for a score of 131. Like,
huge.
Yep. The kid can play, but he needs to cement himself in this.
Let's see how Josh Carr sees him. I think that's the big thing, isn't it? Like, we saw that under Josh Carr, we saw that Miles Bergman, who's actually pretty unlucky to miss this list. I think that's more of an oversight than anything. 24. I think I'm really high on Miles Bergman going into the midfield this year, most likely. Rosie in backline. Those were sort of the first 2 moves that Josh Carr made. Having Bergman more as that midfielder that can tag. I remember he did a couple of times to Jordan Dawson, and then Rosie in backline, Burgoyne in the backline, hence why he has the defender status. But Evans wasn't part of that mix. Do we see Evans now in that mix and really solidify himself? Because when you got blokes like Brendan Sertach and Asav Radigalia, they're not names that are going to win you finals. But if you can develop blokes like Logan Evans in a rebuilding year, that's what's really going to make you take that next step. So hopefully it goes that way. Let's talk about the Tigers. Lots of relevance here, and these are just some of the players. I mean, I've left off a lot of their youngsters in terms of Josh Smiley. You've got other players like even some of their key forwards like Jasper
Harry
Alger,
Armstrong,
small forward Jasper Alger. There's a lot of young blokes at Richmond that can do the job. So with Sam Lawler, let's start there. He's going to be a forward next year. Very, very injury interrupted 2025. And I think what's going to happen for us is we're going to have to take a little bit of time to actually trust his body. Like, I don't think he can roll out Law in the under-22s comp straight off the bat until you're confident he gets his body right. Same with Hodden. He was okay, but I think there's going to be better options in the forward line. Seth Campbell was their highest goal scorer last year. Really interesting player, Roscoe. What do you make of sort of the scope you see for these three, Lawler, Hodden, and Campbell next year? Like, who's going to take the biggest leap?
That's hard to say. I think they're all very electric players. I think Seth Campbell's probably more of your traditional crumbing small forward type, whereas Hotton's probably like your electric kind of half tall, half small marking forward, and Lawler's probably like your midfield type who then goes forward like a Dusty and kicks a goal. I think on the terms of the three of them, Campbell's probably got the safest backing to kick his goals and have a nice ceiling. I think Lawler has probably got the biggest fantasy upside to him, I think, at the moment. But I actually think I'm the biggest on Taj Hotton out of the three in terms of being a player. Like, I think some of the stuff that he did when he came in and debuted, I was just like, all right, this kid's going to be pretty good. And, I know Lawler was the number one pick, but I think the Hotton, they said he was going to be potentially the number one pick if he didn't injure his knee in his junior year. He's going to be a really, really good player. Not sure how it's going to translate to game day squad, but I think he'll get there.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, mate. I think you raised some great points in terms of all three of them. Now, you know that I've had a bit of let me put it this way. I've been so big on Sam Banks for a long time now, and it's just great to see that 95 average. He's so close to making the under-22s, but I can see him being the all-star sort of breakout next year because Jaden Short's been a little bit phased out. Sam Banks took the keys for the Richmond backline at the end of 2025. What's to say that he can't take it even more forward now? The ball's going to live down there. They're still rebuilding. Do you think, are you as high on Sam Banks as I am?
I don't know if I'd go as far as to say I'm as high as you are, because obviously I think you've got a diamond card of him. Am I correct?
Yes, well, that was after. That was this isn't all because I have a diamond card. I got the diamond card because I knew that he was a gun. But
yeah, I know. But like, that's like a big sign of confidence if you're willing to invest in a player.
100%.
He's averaged 95, and I do think he'll break out, definitely. There's a little question mark for me with the Richmond factor, but the role's there. I think you could be spot on, and he's definitely one that I'm looking to buy. Perhaps not a diamond, but if I spot a cheeky platter of gold on the market tonight, I think there could be one there for me. So hopefully I can snap that up and no one buys it in the next 20 minutes.
Well, that's the thing, man. I think when we're looking at some of these players, the thing which let's not consider the under-22s, but consider Banks versus Fletcher versus Roberts. If you had to rank these three in terms of who's going to average the highest next year, what would be the order you put those three in? Archie Roberts, not Matt.
I think Fletcher's probably still one, just because he plays in the best side. And then I don't know, Banks and Roberts, you could probably flip it, I reckon. Maybe Archie Roberts just because there's no Nick Martin, and he's probably playing like a loose, unaccountable role. I know Sam Banks has got a lot of the distribution, but he's still sort of defender as well, if that makes sense. Whereas I feel like Archie Roberts is probably more of a midfielder
there you go.
that's playing in defence. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, is that it's not a bad thing to be third in that mix. Like, they're all out and out guns. You can even add Darcy Wilmot into that conversation, like Colby McKercher. I think if we added Colby McKercher, I'd put him at one, like McKercher at one, and then slide everyone down, and Wilmot probably slots into 3 or 4. But it's going to be very, very exciting to see those 5 in terms of McKercher, Wilmot, Fletcher, Roberts, Banks. Like, that's probably the 4 or 5 promising players that I see coming out of this lot, mostly. All right, let's make. Oh, very quickly on Luke Trainer. I just added him in because he's going to be an under-22 defender. but he has the pedigree to be that intercepting type that kicks the ball a fair bit. He even had some kick-ins at the start of last year, got phased out a little bit, but I think he's going to be quite a promising player that we can look to sort of possibly invest a cheeky silver or gold into ahead of next year, just in case it becomes relevant for our defenses. Let's talk
Yes.
about your mob then. This is exciting. There's a fair bit going on here.
Yeah, there is. I think it's better for you to take it away because I think I might present a bit of an overly optimistic view on some of these boys here.
No. I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
Well, look, Max Hall, I know you're probably quite big on him as well.
I'm very big.
The mature age kind of, coming in late into the AFL system from Box Hill. He put up some ridiculous numbers in terms of, like goal assists and stuff like that throughout the year. Had some decent scoring in fantasy, not necessarily consistent. So I think that's probably the next level for him. In terms of Mateus Filippo, I think we need to get him back into the midfield. He looked a bit devoid of confidence when he came into the side. I know there was a game where he had just like one touch for the game. But then against Carlton in round 7 on the MCG, I remember he was back from injury. He popped up and kicked his 2 goals. Like he was pretty energetic. We can get that back from him. I think he's one that we definitely have to watch as a forward as well. Then we've got Darcy Wilson, who I think probably makes the step and hopefully replaces Mason Wood or Brad Hill as the wing half forward on one side for us this year. I think his fantasy scoring potential could actually improve, even if he gets a bit of midfield time. And then Windhager, not eligible for the 22s. And being a midfielder, I think makes it tricky because I believe he was a defender last year.
Yes,
96.7 average is pretty decent, though. And I think he's the kind of player that will have a strong preseason again and can bump that. But there's going to be a lot of options rolling through our midfield. I know Steele's gone. Jones is gone. But the likes of Hall, Filippo, Wilson, McRae probably wants to play some time in there. Flanders wants to play some time in there. Naz wants to play some time in there. Garcia wants to play some time in there. It makes it tricky to predict who's going to be the best mix in the midfield. And if Windhager doesn't play midfield, I'm not 100% settled on his scoring, unless he's back at halfback. But I just can't see him being there either.
Yeah, it's a tough one because at 22, if you can average 97, that's pretty impressive. And then what's the next evolution in is a game? Is it tackles like we saw that with Bailey Smith? But Windhager doesn't really kick the ball as much. So it's going to be interesting to see where the next evolution is for Windhager. I think that was pretty realistic, mate. Maybe your optimism rubbed off on me with the Saints. But let's move on then before we talk too much about this mob and go on to talk about the Swannies. Now, Angus Sheldrick, if you've been a fan of the Supercoach Swordplay channel, you know that I love a bit of Angus Sheldrick in terms of the way that he plays. He plays like a little Lockie, or like a young Lockie Neal. He got solidified into that Sydney midfield this year. Average 72. He was a forward this year, but next year he's going to be a midfielder, and he isn't eligible for the under 22s, which makes him a bit tough to really invest into. But I think Sheldrick is going to be definitely one to watch for the future in terms of what does this year look like for him. We got Heaney there. You got Chad Warner's bit of that sort of boomerang from midfield forward. But then what else does it look like? The Swans were shopping around James Rowbottom. What is that midfield mix going to look like for them? That's going to be so interesting to watch in preseason. I think that Sheldrick is really going to solidify himself and then take that next leap. What do you think, Roscoe?
Yeah, I think he sort of has to. I mean, he's almost sort of playing for his career a little bit, I feel like.
Yeah.
I know that
that's
the Swans are high on him and all that sort of stuff, but he does have to break into the side sooner rather than later. I think otherwise, if he gets to 23, 24, he's still sitting on the fringes, they'll trade him or they'll let him go, I think. So I think this is his year. Obviously they've got some top level talent that's going to be running through there, but he needs to be a part of it.
Yeah. Awesome. And then Matty Roberts. Now, the issue with Roberts came with Nick Blakey deciding to be a bit of a seagull as well. And then Callum Mills coming in to the side at the end of the season really diminished a lot of the ball rebound responsibility that Roberts was basically had a monopoly on at the start of last year. And that what we were promised in the preseason last season. Now, if that is the same thing promised at the start of next season, that Roberts is going to be the primary distributor, he's got a beautiful left foot. I think he could really take the next step and become a 110 average and defender as well. But the issue being is that Nick Blakey takes so many kicks, and you got Goulden. They've got so many left foot snipers. What happens to Braden Campbell? Is he just going to be a permanent forward now? Like, there's so many lethal kicks on a small ground. There's only so much ball to go around for all of them. But the new rules of the between the arcs last disposal could play in the favour of Matty Roberts.
Yeah, that's the thing. We know that he can have big games, but then at times where the ball doesn't go through him, he sort of gets a bit lost. And I think that makes it tricky. I think that's sort of the problem we had as well with our boy Bice Life. He had games where everything went through him and he was scoring 140 GDS. And then they choose to put the ball through Blakey and through Roberts instead. And the third banana sort of gets left out a little bit. So you're right in saying that we need to see Roberts try and get that number one role. Not sure if Blakey's ready to give it up yet, though.
Yeah, no worries. That's all good. Well, we'll move on then to talk about the Eagles here. So I guess the big thing with the Eagles, which we want to sort of see is what happens with some of the blokes like an Elijah Hewitt, Harley Reid, Job Shanahan. They're all going to be eligible for the under-22 competition. Hewitt in particular, at age 21, the midfield thing is what sort of annoys me. I've got a diamond of his and I was just hoping that he could sneak into being a forward like he was this year, but he's gone into the midfield. It's a bit annoying, but he can break out. He's one of those players that's electric. He just needs a full preseason, injury-free. We go from there. Harley Reid, another one that almost got defender status, but he's going to be a midfielder next year. 83, can he take that next leap? In terms of Hewitt and Reid, how much can you see them progressing next year, mate?
Well, I think both of them are electric at their very best, and they're going to have to start coming along if the Eagles are going to start improving. The pressure's on. I think Harley Reid probably going to get a bit more attention than normal because he's the number one pick and he's Harley Reid, and there's all this sort of pressure coming from the media as well. But if he can break through that, then I think he can really elevate himself to become a top liner.
Yeah. Nah, that's perfect summation there. And then Tom McCarthy. Now, at 25 in his first year, he only played a handful of games being a mid-season draftee, averaging 98. That is incredible. Now, you're going to have Josh Lindsay as a draftee coming in. What happens to your pig, Ryan Marich? Oink, oink. So Ryan Marich is eligible for the under-22s, actually. So he's one that didn't make this cut. But I think when you got Lindsay and you're going to have McCarthy there, what happens to Liam Duggan? There's only so much ball to go around. I think that McCarthy can take the next leap. I just can't see him getting up to that 110. Maybe 105, like a Jake Bowie, perhaps. But the Eagles should try their very best to get the ball as much through McCarthy as possible.
Yeah, he did pretty well when they gave him the role when he came in. So I think he's definitely one to keep an eye on. I don't know. It makes it hard with the Eagles because you can't really target fixtures. If they end up being better than we expect, then maybe we can pick him and trust him a little bit more. Same goes for Job Shanahan. I think it's hard to target these fixtures when, as a forward, they might be getting smashed again a lot of weeks. And, he needs more of the ball down there to be able to mark it, kick the goals, like your Sam Darcy's and your Thilthorpes, both playing in top sides. So, it does make it a little bit tricky with the Eagles, that factor. But, McCarthy could definitely get above 100, and Shanahan, I reckon, could probably get to like 65, 70 with some spikes.
Yeah. And the only reason I Shanahan is he passed the eye test so much. I remember the game against Port Adelaide where it was only his first or second. It was only in his early handful of games. But the way that he leaps for the ball, his kick, everything about him reminds me a little bit of Sam Darcy. And so this is just a little shout out having Shanahan in here. It's a pretty rare card as well. So hopefully if you do have one of him, just keep him, stash him away. He could become pretty special down the line. We'll finish up with the doggies. They're not too much relevance here, but I think Joel the Fridge Fraser.
As a forward?
20. as a forward. That's correct. That is the big point that we need to consider there. Average 84. He was, by my calculations, the second highest averaging forward for next year in terms of not forwards this year, but forwards for next year after Sheasel. So there's a big drop off. You got Sheasel at 126 all the way down to Fraser at 84 amongst that mix. So that's something that we should be keeping an eye on. He is their mini Bontempelli, as the Bond himself says it. He's going to be pretty special. And I think if you can invest some cards off him, invest into some cards of him, you're not going to go wrong there.
Yeah. 100%. Like I think that forward status is very exciting. He should be playing midfield.
He should be, and he might be. And the thing is that we need to think about, Adam Treloar was, I think, third or fourth highest averaging GDS players in 2024, and he barely played this year. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of they just have a player like Treloar waiting in the wings to come back in. But if he doesn't come back in, someone has to play midfield with Bontempelli, with an aging Libba. Ed Richards took that step up. Matt Kennedy's in there. But you can't have too many midfielders at the end of the day.
No, you can't.
And then you got Sam Davidson. Dr. Sam Davidson, age 24. So he's not going to be eligible for the under-22s. But I remember he played a game against Carlton, against us, and he went bananas. I think he had about 34 disposals, took marks. He just did anything he wanted on the Marvel Stadium wing. And then there's a preseason game as well where I felt like the ball was in his hands all the time. He had his own footy out there. So if you can find a game like that, nail a pod like Davidson in a random Sunday competition or something, it's not going to go awry for sure. But Roscoe, we just went through 60 of our top breakout candidates. I want you to put it this way. If you had to name, let's say, the 3 cards, what are the 3 main cards off these 60 you're investing into right now?
Personally, so I have a big investment in Jasper Fletcher.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a few of his. I managed to snipe up a few of his golds and plats at like $1.50, stuff like that. I don't plan on price fixing them and put them all up for $7, $8. But I think it'll be good to try and get some of these more obscure gold platinum cards for a bit of value in terms of trading. Mm-hmm. So I think he'll be handy there. I think I'll be looking very heavily into Archie Roberts as that main guy for Essendon. Probably McKercher. I mean, it's a bit of an obvious one. I'll be looking to have all variants of McKercher. Then maybe a fourth one, probably Bowie, I think. So there's my defenders.
All the defenders. Well, you've stolen a couple of mine, so I like all of them. I'm just going to give it a couple of other names a shout out as well. So Dan Curtin is one. I think Adelaide is going to need to rely on a big bottom midfielder, and Curtin just feels like the most obvious choice there. You didn't mention Sam Banks, who I've been high on for a long time and continue to be high on. Harvey Langford is one that I think really take the next step next year and become sort of, you're not going to replace Clayton Oliver and Christian Petrarca overnight. And Jack Vine is getting up there in age, but he should be one that really does take that next step. And then let's say Darcy Wilmot, like the Pepsi Max King, one of Fletcher or Wilmot, or both of them should really go into that 110 range, I reckon.
Yeah, so 100%.
With that, mate, that takes us through sort of the players. Let's go a little bit of market hunting. So this is just very quickly part one of part two. Part one of a 2-part series. In the second part of this sort of series, we're going to open some packs to try and see if we can pack any of these young blokes. But without further ado, let's get into a little bit of market hunting. All right, so now we're going to go into taking a look at some of these players on the transfer market, snagging a couple of handy bargains ourselves. We're going to do a little bit of a snake so that we don't keep sniping our own players. So Roscoe will start us off. Then I get 2 picks. Roscoe gets 2 picks, just like that. We got some money in the account as well. So Roscoe, without further ado, take it away and let's see who you go to first as sort of your bargain.
All right. Well, I did say to you off air that I had a card lined up for my first pick, but I've spotted a card which is too much of a bargain to pick.
Oh,
Now we'll get up the transfer market here. I think you need to present it.
yes, there we go.
Beautiful. We'll get up the transfer market here. We've got $25 in the account to do a bit of value hunting, courtesy of the boys at GameDay Squad. So cheers, boys. I'm going to start us off here with a Jake Bowie. Now,
Ooh.
I might
Might
just
have
quickly
refreshed that,
refresh.
mate.
Yeah, I might just refresh here so that I can get all the value. You can see here, Carnes the Blues has listed a platinum Jake Bowie for $1 Australian.
Oh,
Think
wow,
about that.
way.
This guy's
That's
averaging
so good.
103 and his
That
platinum
is
is
so
$1.
good.
So
Wow.
welcome to the club, Jake Bowie.
Oh, that is a very, very nice deal there. All right. Well, I'll take us off next. I've got a couple of players in mind, but I'm not exactly sure which angle to take. So we might just go into the market and go from there. All right. So I've got the market up. You can see that. Now I'm just taking a
Yep.
look at what I've got in the collection. Taking a look around. I think the first player that I actually want to go and grab is a gold Bailey Humphrey. So I know
Oh,
there's a
that's
gold
nice.
Bailey Humphrey up a little bit earlier at $1.90. There we go. The great man Stealth. He's going to hook me up with a Bailey Humphrey for, let's just make sure, $1.90. Oh, we'll just do one last check. Let's make sure there's nothing cheaper on the market. There we go. Was in
Ooh,
need of
there's
a
another
Bailey
one there for
Humphrey.
$2.
Yeah,
Mm.
you might be able to snag that one up there. And then the second player that we're going to go to, that's interesting. I think that Josh Weddle. I saw there's a Josh Weddle up a bit earlier on at $1.50, and it's still there from Jurgen.
Oh,
I think I might go that route.
$1.50.
What is this one? Oh, I'm not sure. That's an interesting trade offer. But yeah, I'll snag this one up from Danny D, one of the great legends in the Discord community, at $1.50 there for Josh Weddle, gold Josh Weddle.
Bang. There we go. We're off and hunting here. We're getting value.
Where are you
very
going to
early
next?
On. All right, let's go. Next card up. This is the one that I said off air. Well, this is my players.
Yes.
Sammy Banks. Where are you, buddy?
Ooh, love it.
$2.50 for the platinum card. Sam Banks, I think, is an absolute steal.
Steal.
$2.50. Welcome
Love
to the
that.
club, mate.
Welcome
Absolute
to the club.
bargain. Now I'm gonna stock up here and get in early on this platinum Archie
Ooh,
Roberts for
yes.
$5.99.
I
Now
like that.
I think he's the only one actually. If you look at Platts,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's $6.67 there,
Mm.
$5.99, slightly better deal. Again from Danny D. Thank you very much for coming.
Like it, mate. I like it very much. All right. Well, what we can do next, I'll take it back over now. I think there was a player that I was looking at before. I'm very keen on procuring a Dan Curtin. A
Oh
Dan
yeah.
Curtin. The thing is, there's one at $4. There's one at $5. That's a plat, that is. I think we're filling up Danny D's pockets at this point, but he's
He's
a good
probably
man.
wondering what's going on here.
Why all the young blokes going off? And then I'm going to go a little bit astray because the reason why is I don't think there's actually too many of these on the market, if any. So Jagger Smith. Oh, there's one at $2.50. Wonder where to
Is
go.
that my one that's listed
Jagger-
down there?
What's that?
Oh
No,
no, it's
not
someone else
quite.
with a green logo.
I might actually go a little bit different, actually. I'll just grab a Joel Frazier just because there's a couple. There's one if you want. There's a couple that are very cheap.
Oh yes.
I'm gonna grab a gold Joel Frazier there. There we go.
Yeah, I might be having a look there too in a
All right,
second.
there we go. Back over to you, mate.
Here we go. But now I know though that these are the cars that you've already taken. You've already got a Humphrey. You've already got a Frazier. So let's have a look at Windhager. There's one here for $2. Again, it's Jurgen. $2 Windhager. We're looking at 104, 148, 135. I think I'll pick him up at $2 for a platinum Marcus Windhager. I like it. Now,
Very nice,
my
mate.
other card that I was looking at here, we were discussing him before as a forward. Paul Curtis. We'll put in Paul so we don't get all the Curtis Taylors. Paul Curtis. $1.50 for the gold Paul Curtis. Bang. Get in.
I like that.
There we go.
Great.
We've got $12.70 left now to find a few more bargains.
All right.
I'm going through. I had a cheeky look beforehand at my list, and I'm slowly filling it out here.
Very nice, mate. All right. I'm going to take this back over now, and we're going to go down the Caleb Windsor route because I know there's a silver Caleb wins in here somewhere. $1. There we go. What is this one?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a lot for gold Caleb Windsor. Let's not go there. Let's snag this one up for $1 there. Very nice. And then which way do I go? I think I will go for that Jagger Smith. You know what? Let's go for that Jagger Smith. Let's pick him up here at $2.50. Yes, there will probably be more packed, but I just want to have the comfort of knowing that I will have a Jagger Smith in a silver variant.
Yeah, that is useful. I think he might be in the starter pack bundle again with the bronzes. He was last season, so hopefully.
But he's an inactive now. That's the only problem.
Well, they'll make him active again.
Inactive at the moment. Yeah, exactly.
Now, I'm tossing up here. Do we lock in the Platinum McKercher for $6.99? Yeah, we're going to play him. We're going to play him almost every week. This is the thing. Or do I go really hunting and top up with, say, 5 or 6 cards at $2 each? This is tricky. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get some other cards first. Some ones that you got. So I'm going to go for this Fraser here for $1.90. We'll take him. Thanks for coming. And then we'll take a Bailey Humphrey, I think.
Yes.
Did I buy it?
Seems quite. Might just need refer. Oh, you did. Got it. There you go.
Humphrey. And here's the $2 gold Humphrey. We'll take this too. Bang. That leaves us with $8.84. Very good.
All right. Well, back over to me now, isn't it?
Yes.
You sort of read my mind with the Colby McKercher thing. So now I don't want to step on your toes here, mate. But if you're comfortable, I will go for it. If you want it, I will leave it for you. Does he have the money? I will be going for just. Which one?
There is 2 McKerchers there. One's $6.99. The other one is
$7.99. That's right. We'll do some off-air negotiating with Jag, and we'll get that one down. That's right.
Yeah.
Not a Flanders. Sorry, I did not mean to put in Flanders.
I will say though, there's a 99-cent Flanders there. If anyone's watching this, get on.
Is there? Where is it?
Is that 99 cents or $6.99?
No, $6.99. I was going to say I don't think there's.
Eyes tested.
Let's grab this silver Fletcher though. $3. It'd be quite handy to have next year.
There you go. Bang.
All right, and then I'm just looking down my sheet. I just want to make sure and see if is there any Harvey Langfords that are cheap. He's a very expensive card all of a sudden. Far out. What is the Pepsi Max? Good old DR wants a Harry Sheasel. I don't think we'll go with there, mate. But maybe off air. All right. Ooh. Well, there's a new Joel Fraser that's just dropped for $1.90.
Oh, just now.
I think you bought him, and Stealth has just put in another one. Let's go and see, is there Harley Reid? Now, what I do want to see is there enough money to get Harley Reid and a McKercher? Is there enough? Oh, there is, but I don't. We'll do something. That's right.
Take him. Take him. I've got other value options lined up here.
You want me to take the McKercher?
Yeah, go on. I'll get one.
I'll take the McKercher then. There you go, mate. All right.
I'll get one.
There we go.
All right. I'm assuming you're going to take Harley Reid with your last one.
Yes, I'll take that Reid with the last one, mate.
Okay. So, I was having a look at Levi Ashcroft's here. He's getting a bit pricey.
He is
$6.99 for the plat. I don't know if that's quite worth it. But I was looking at Jakey Saligo. There's
a
quite there for
$3 silver Levi if you need him.
Well, that's not a bad shout, but I think I've already got a silver Levi. Yeah, I do.
Mm.
That's the problem. That's the problem I have here. What about Joshy Worrell? Oh, there's platinums there for $2.
Oh, sorry, I should.
Yeah, I could take one of them. Definitely.
Oh, gold. Yeah, $2
Oh,
for
you know
Josh
what?
Worrell's really good. Yeah.
You know what? I think I'm just going to do it. I think I'm just going to do
You're
it.
going to take the McKercher.
I'm just going to do
right.
it. Yeah. Because now there's none
Believe-
left on the market, and I think he might be a bit hard to get a hold of.
He will. I reckon he will. Especially with the under 22s comp.
I'll hand it back
I
over
got one
to you.
more. Are you done now?
I've got 85 cents, so I'm going to try and hunt for something.
He's got 85 cents.
Under,
got 85 cents.
Under
I think I'll finish up my hunting by grabbing the Harley. Oh, actually, wait. I got $2.99. How will this work? Do I go to Silver Harley? I want to hear your thoughts here. Do I go to Silver Harley, or do I go? What is Lindsay? Can we time this? Is this a $2 card or $1.99 card? Oh, it's a $2 card. No way.
Oh, stiff.
How much is the Dersma? I was gonna see if there's a sane Dersma at $1. Far out. That's right.
You can get a Phoenix Gothard for $1.50.
Do you know what I'll do? Do you know what I'll do? I'll go with the Saviour Lindsay. I'll scrap the Harley for now. I'll go with the Saviour Lind. Oh, what the hell? Oh, here we go. Oh, what is this? Well, this is an offer. This might not even go through. Oh, that's weird.
What's going on with that?
I'll put it through anyway, but offer has been placed. All right, sure.
Interesting.
Well, that's a 10. All right, I'll go a different way. I'll go a different direction. I'll grab an Elijah Hewitt at $1.
Yep.
There we go. And then what I'll also do is I'll go with there's a silver Filippo.
Oh,
at
I like the shout.
$1. Silver Filippo. Let's just make sure we don't have him. Yes, we do not. At $1.75. We are certainly filling the pockets of some people, that's for sure.
Yes.
There we go. That's me done. Who's your last pick, mate?
I don't think I'm finding anything for under 85 cents. I found a platinum Adam.
I will give you one. I'll give you one, mate. I'll give you a shout. One that was on my list. Yeah. There is a silver Luke Trainer for 75 cents.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Well, that'll have to do. That will have to do.
75 cents. What a bargain.
6 again, just in case, so that everyone can see for full transparency here. I've got 85 cents left in the kitty. There it is, 75 cents, silver Luke Trainer. Welcome to the club.
Well, very nice.
So we've done pretty well, I think.
We have done very well there, mate. Awesome. So that concludes part 1 of this 2-part sort of series on the young guns. We went through 60 young guns across the comp, mainly focusing on the under 22s competition, the new GDS competition. If you haven't already, sign up to GDS using our code PEANUT for $20 worth of free packs. It's great value. It's even though it's the off season, you can see just how much fun we're having. And then look forward in the coming weeks. Once the new draftees are in the play pool, we're going to crack open some packs, try get some of those young draftees or get some of these young guns. You don't want to miss that. Roscoe, any final words, mate?
No, look, I think I actually just wanted to finish off quickly with a quick summary here. So we had $25 in funds, and with $25 in funds, I've managed to snag Platinum's Bowie, Banks, Roberts, Windhager, and McKercher, golds of Paul Curtis, Joel Frazier, Bailey Humphrey, and a silver Luke Trainer.
And I'll do the same here, mate. I got a platinum McKercher, platinum Dan Curtin, got a gold Bailey Humphrey, gold Josh Weddle, and I got silvers of Fletcher, Windsor, Jagger Smith, Elijah Hewitt, Mateus Filippo, and also gold of Joel Frazier. So pretty handy bargain hunt in there. Very, very nice, mate. Well, let's leave it at that then. We'll see you guys for the next part of this mini series. We're very keen to see how you guys like these kinds of videos. Hopefully, we'll have a lot more off-season content and pre-season content for the AFL GDS heading into the 2026 season. See you guys.
100%. Keen as. See ya.